The global war. Can ethics bring peace? By Steven Gans. Introduction. Section 1, The Problem, states that the problem of global war is our war on the globe. This section is based on a definitive work on climate change, Michael Mann's The Hockey Stick and the Climate Wars. It's also informed by the illuminating work of Peter Sloterdijk on globalization, the world interior of capitalism. Section 2, The Solution, sketches a vision of how ethics might bring about peace. The Solution follows from Bruno Latour's work on actor network theory, ANT, and his inquiry into modes of existence, AIME, AIME. It is inspired by the ethics of Emmanuel Levinas. The section also discusses the need for an alignment of humanity with cosmic intelligence, as well as the need for a restructuring of economics into networks of cooperative relatedness. The problem. We are living in the global age. What does this mean? Globalization, the one-way traffic from west to east, better known as colonialism, started during the age of exploration and discovery in the 15th century and finished with the photograph from space of planet Earth in the 20th. No one today doubts that the Earth is round and that it can be circumnavigated. Now, traffic flows two ways across multiple transportation and communication channels, and this traffic has transformed the planet into a global shopping mall. Everything on the planet virtually is up for sale, and most people seek more spending power, more comfort, and more opportunity to travel, shop, do global business, and share in global culture. The phenomena of globalization originated in an economic imperative to seek new opportunities for profit in order to pay back interest on loans. However, the enormous success of the global entrepreneurial explosion over the last 500 years has come at a high price. Not only has globalization unleashed centuries of unrestrained violence of man toward his fellow man, it has put the life support system of the planet in jeopardy. In order to fuel explosive growth, the global economy became dependent on the burning of fossil fuels. This was necessary to power the machinery that produced the food, clothing, and shelter of those engaged in the productive process, as well as producing the luxuries coveted by successful entrepreneurs. The end result of the excessive burning of fossil fuel is the present climate crisis. This is created by a saturation of CO2s in the atmosphere, which create the greenhouse effect and result in global warming. Despite the billions of dollars spent by climate change deniers to cast doubt on the reality of climate change and its human cause, it's now generally agreed by all informed that there is a climate crisis, that this crisis has been generated by man, that global warming is irreversible, although it may be slowed down, and that the only question remaining is how bad the consequences will be for us in the present and future. There is no known technology, or is one likely to emerge, that will be able to reverse the effects of global warming, given the complexity of the task of intervening in global climate. It is, however, possible that we will be able to arrest the acceleration of global warming and limit its effects to avoid the most serious imaginable catastrophes. Catastrophes have already been produced by rising sea levels, melting ice caps, and shifting currents, and have already triggered cascading systems failures of metropolitan infrastructures. As the frequency of these occurrences increase, the collapse of the global shopping mall and the comfortable lifestyles this mall affords to those inside becomes increasingly under threat. A total global meltdown could return those who survived it to the most primitive conditions imaginable. This prognostication of doom is by no means exaggerated. Just think about the effects of Hurricane Sandy on New York and amplify this type of cascading infrastructure collapse as something that starts occurring on a regular basis in multiple cities around the world. This gives you some idea of what will happen when climate change reaches a tipping point and sets off multiple daily climate cataclysms, including floods, tsunamis, and hurricanes. And yet, as Jameson has quipped, it's easier to see the end of the planet than the end of capitalism, although simply ending capitalism would not, at this point, re-stabilize the environment. If the environment were a bank, it would have already had to be been bailed out. Yet, as a recent joke making the rounds suggests, we can expect little positive response to the climate crisis from industry. The joke goes as follows. It's about a report given to the board of directors of a major global company by their chief futurologist. He says, gentlemen, the bad news is the planet will not survive, at least not its life support systems. The good news is there's still plenty of profits to be made before this happens. The solution. We can state the problem of our global age as a war against Mother Earth. On the one hand, we are reaching a stage of the development of humanity where it's foreseeable, given the rate of accelerated technology and technological evolution, to envision abundance for all. On the other hand, in order to reach this stage, we need to arrest global warming. The dilemma is that the current imperative of economic progress is to burn what remains of fossil fuels left in the earth. How can we resolve this dilemma and end the war against Earth, which is really a war against ourselves? Let's envision a solution. The solution would require the adoption of an ethics of restraint. The unrestrained violence of competition, fueled by greed and the desire for acquisition of might and power, expressed as the unlimited accumulation of spending power, has been achieved at the cost of horrendous consequences to the planet. The unlimited acquisition of personal spending power must be regulated, reined in, and redirected in an ethical manner. The prime law of ethics is putting the other first, and this law can be extended to putting the planet, or the personification of the planet, Gaia, first. What would this mean to put planet Earth first? If we put one another and the planet first, we would move from our present system of hierarchy, the dominant system of command and control, driving most businesses and governments, to a network model of ethical and diplomatic relationship toward all modes of existence. This would mean developing a cosmopolitan collective. In such a collective, we would support everything that was a contribution to wholesome and healthy, sustainable networks on the planet. We would admit to the collective all things that contributed to abundance for all without deleterious ecological effects. Instituting such a prime law of ethical restraint and putting the other first would require an alchemical transformation of humanity. We humans would have to move from our prevailing mindset of fear and poverty consciousness to love and the realization of the availability of abundance for all. We would need to transform our mindset from a state of fight, flight, and freeze, characteristic of a mind at war, to a state of mind in flow or in the zone. This would bring us in alignment and harmony with the quantum source of cosmic intelligence. It is possible to conceive of a technology that would bring about this radical alchemical transformation of all of our fellow human beings, such that we would act in concert for the common good of all and the planet, rather than continue on our present path of almost certain self-destruction. I believe that not only is such a technology possible, but that it already exists, and that it can be made available to all who want it. This technology, if widely disseminated, would bring about a transformation of our unbalanced and impoverished brain-mind into a network of harmoniously balanced brain minds, attuned to cosmic intelligence. Such a transformation would realign our individual brain-mind quantum brainwave pattern with cosmic quantum patterns of intelligence. Such an alignment would transform each individual's brain-mind to higher consciousness. We would all become self-optimizing beings, not unlike Buddhist masters. Balancing the brain-mind is a necessary, but not yet sufficient condition for the transition to ethical relatedness of all to all and all to the planet. The sufficient condition would require the development of networks in which we measure our success by the degree to which we help others realize their success. We will save the planet only when and if we establish an ethics of restraint in global economic and in the global economic and political arena. The paradigm for such global ethical networks is already in place, exemplified as best practice in the best companies within the network and relationship marketing space. The networked organization of the present and future will produce servant leaders who work at bringing out the best in the members of the teams they lead. I believe that these global network enterprises will develop sustainable energy sources necessary to meet the needs of all without dependence on fossil fuel, and will move us forward toward unprecedented peace and prosperity. Two examples of such networked organizations are Bitcoin and PowerCloud. Bitcoin is a disruptive global currency, and PowerCloud provides clean solar electricity fired by crowdfunding and network marketing distribution. Conclusion. I've argued that the problem of the global war is climate change brought about by our war on the globe. I've proposed a solution of ethical restraint which could lead to the reassembling of global actor networks. These networks would put the other and the planet first. For the transition or transformation to occur, nothing less than the rebalancing of humanity's collective brain mind, the restructuring of economic relatedness, and our realignment to cosmic intelligence would be required.